Is that sometimes there's inconsistency in water levels. And in some parts of the city, they're high, in some parts as low. How do you make that transformation so that you have consistency so that the bayous look consistent and you can do consistent things in terms of entertainment along the bayous?
Well, you can't. And that's the difference between our bayous are, and they're not natural water courses, but they are still active water courses. I mean, they're not natural because a lot of them have been cemented in. But that's like Buffalo Bayou. It is an active waterway. It floods when it rains, and then it goes down to its more natural levels. As we build along the bayous, we are going to be cognizant of the fact that these bayous convey large amounts of water at certain times of the year, and everything we build has to have the ability to withstand those environmental issues going forward.
So our retention ponds that are required from major buildings, contractors, can any of that water in the retention ponds be channeled into the bayous so that you have more consistency in the bayous?
Actually, no. It's just the opposite. We build a detention so that we can divert some of the water that's flowing down the bayous, so that it keeps the water levels in the bayous from exceeding the banks. This is what these water courses are designed to do. They're designed to carry water when it needs to move. And the rest of the time, again, these were original waterways, so they have always conveyed water, but they're not waterways that can be managed in such a way to control the level. Anybody else?
I guess there's no projects underway yet. I think that's supposed to start next month or something.
That's actually not correct. There are projects underway across the city, various sources of funding. I mean, we've been building our bio trail system for decades. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, we've spent more than $2 billion worth, and there are some Tiger Grant monies being spent as we speak to build trail connections. This particular funding source, we just got the interlocal agreements passed today, but we've had the bulldozers aren't quite revving, but there's a lot of projects stacked up and ready to go. It will flow through the Houston Parks Board under the oversight of Joe Turner in the Parks Department.
Speaking of funding sources, the utility corridors, will this plan, these sources of funds pave trails north and south, or is that going to be an additional effort after this is completed?
This money can pave those trails. The question is, I don't know if they've programmed the money yet that far out. So, Roxanne?
We hope that part of these funds could at least do some pilot projects on the north-south corridors, utility lines. The majority of this funding is programmed to make the connections along the bayous, but obviously we'd like to stretch every dollar we have to maximize those north-south connections. We're delighted that we now have that opportunity.
And the priority is going to be areas where short connectors can open up large pieces of trail. I mean, we've laid out the work we want to do, but we like some low-hanging fruit, and that's where we're going to start.
Mayor, can you talk a little bit about the funding source and whether it's private, public, or whether it's a grant?
Well, as we've said, this is a match, and this was actually a challenge match that came from Houston Parks Board and generous philanthropists in the community, and they said, we'll go out and raise $100 million if the city will borrow $100 million for these capital projects. The voters approved us borrowing that money, and there's aggressive fundraising going on the private sector side. A lot of that money has already been committed. The one piece we have left to really put a bow around everything is, as I mentioned at council today, the maintenance agreement. It is something that I am absolutely adamant about, and we've already put into play in other areas, and that is, if we build something, we maintain something. We are breaking the cycle that cities had in the past, which is we put something in place, something new, we build a new building, and then we just let it run, and we don't maintain it. And if we put something in place, we want to maintain it in tip-top condition. That is also the bottom line for the Parks Board for this particular collaboration, and because once it's created, it is owned by the city and the taxpayers, and so being aware of the limitations of binding councils into the future, we're going to work through the legal issues to make sure that what we put on the ground is there forever. Anybody else?
No.
Again, thank you all.